All right, guys, it's a wonderful Saturday. We're going to install our new rock sliders on our Black Grenadier. So let's go through the parts first. That'll come in your kit. We have them all laid out here on the table, and the tools that you'll need. It's a very, very simple install. Always helps to have a buddy just because the sliders are a little bit heavy. But let's go through the parts. So first, tools you're going to need is going to be a 17mm wrench, 19mm wrench. I'd recommend wrenches and socket wrenches and ratcheting wrenches if you have them. You're going to get your hardware. This is your hardware for your front mounts. This is your hardware for your rear mounts, which will use prevailing nuts. The front mounts have threaded inserts in the car. These are going to be for your middle mounts. It's the M12 bolts that go into the threaded inserts in the frame. And this is going to be for your attaching your mounts to your actual sliders. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to attach the front mounts, the middle mounts, and the rear mounts first. Get them loose. We're not going to tighten them. We're just going to attach them, fully thread them down hand tight. And then after that, we will put these sliders on. And then we will go through in the process of tightening everything at once. So anyways, let's get started. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to use our Vibrotite thread locker. It's a medium thread locker, really good for vibration. We're going to put this on the front bolts and the middle bolts. We do not need to do the rear mount bolts because it does have the prevailing nuts. All right, so on the front mounts, there's a mirrored version of this for the other side of the truck. As you can see, this is the orientation. You want the actual bolt to be on this side with the large reinforcement flange here to be closest to the front of the truck. That's how that will mount, and obviously it'll be the same on the other side. The middle mounts are identical on both sides, doesn't matter, they're interchangeable. The rear mounts are the same, except that the gussets are changed. So the thin gusset that goes the whole length will go towards the back of the vehicle, and the gusset with the clearance for the wrench will go towards the front of the vehicle. And it'll obviously be the same on that side as well. Depending on how old or dirty your vehicle is, you can choose to run a chaser through all your threaded holes here to clean up the threads a little bit. This vehicle is pretty much brand new, so we're just gonna pop these in. If we haven't had any issues, I can do these by hand pretty much, which is good. I feel a little bit of that factory paint on there, so we'll grab the wrench, and like I said, we'll get these to this point here where it'll move, but they are not tightened down. So we want there to be movement so that we can adjust, make sure the sliders are all lined up perfectly where we want them. So. Now the rear mounts is where you will put in the actual nuts on the top with the washer. So there's your nut, your prevailing nut. And the washer's in there. Like I said, we're just gonna get these hand tight. All right, so we're not fully tightening these down while the sliders are off. We're just getting these nuts a little bit tighter so they don't sag down as much when we go to put the sliders on and line everything up. Also makes it easier to tighten these when you don't have the slider on either. So I'm just gonna get them like nice and like kind of semi hand tight, or not hand tight, but a little bit tighter, but not fully tightened down. All right, so now we're going to stick the tube sections onto the mounts. There's going to be 4 threaded holes in the back. Easiest way to identify which way it goes is on your driver's side. The logoed gusset here will be in the rear, also with this this angled part of the back, as opposed to it'll be straight up 90 degrees in the front. And 2 mounting holes in the rear, 1 in the center, and then 1 for the front. So let's get this up. And this is where you're going to want a buddy, or if you have a stool that you can set the front on when you put the rear in, but I would recommend doing this with 2 people and just get your threads started at least. All right, so first thing I like to do is I like to tighten the middle one first and then work my way to the front and the rear. So you can do middle to back to front, or you can do middle to front to back. It's whatever your preference is. But I always like to do the mounts first, then I'll tighten the sliders for the mounts when the mounts are seated where they want to be, after all the bolts are in and started. Oh. Sorry, you're good. All right, so we got all of our bolts tightened. Install time takes about an hour, maybe an hour and a half with unpacking. And pretty easy install. Recommend a buddy when you're doing the slider part, but the mounts can be put on by yourself. And just take your time with it, get all the threads started, and it's a very easy install. We think you're really gonna like them. They're very durable, match the lines of the truck and the quality that we put out in our products. So if you wanna learn more about them, visit gpfactor.com and we'll see you out there.